February is an important month for folks like myself. It should be an important month to everyone. It's Black History Month. It's the shortest month, but I'm always happy to celebrate history 365 days a year. It's important. And earlier this week, we lost someone who was important not only to Black history, but American history. Reverend Jesse Jackson. I love to claim that he's from Chicago, but a lot of his work was done here. But, he's actually from South Carolina. And I want to take this time, well, at least the Interludes Podcast time, to talk about a great man and, of course, how history intersects with my own family timeline. It's another edition of the Interludes Podcast on Spotify. The Interludes Podcast,
a Pure Lighthouse production.
This episode is brought to you by PureLighthouseMedia.com, home to the book, A DJ Saved My Life, where the ABCs of podcasting and the personal memoir come together perfectly. If you want to start your podcast journey, schedule a 15-minute call with me, research our podcasting blog tips. It's all on our fully remodeled website today.
And now, all the way from the south side of Chicago, give it up for your host, Val, the Voice Johnson.
Hey everyone, it's the Interludes Podcast with Val, the Voice Johnson. I'm your host, and it's Black History Month. Aren't you happy about that? I know I am. I had a whole nother plan for this podcast this week. I had a whole nother plan for the entertainment show, Talk on Tuesdays. But when I woke up this past Tuesday, I woke up to the news that Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away. I didn't know how to feel about that for a moment. I had been praying another prayer unrelated to Reverend Jackson. But I was thinking, not him. A lot of you know, Reverend Jackson had been suffering with a couple of things and his health was declining. But check this out. Even with some of the crazy things that was happening in January in Minneapolis, I saw a Instagram reel with Don Lemon and Jesse Jackson. I think he posted it to his social media. And then I was going, oh my goodness, he was still showing up. 84 years young. Let me see. I think, in fact, I know Reverend Jackson was from South Carolina. Just trying to figure out what city that was exactly. But here's the thing. South Carolina, Arkansas. My mom, she was born 5 years before him in 36, but they both left the South and they came north. And I think about this. Think about your grandmom, your granddad, your aunt, your uncle, your great aunt and uncle, your older cousin, the people in your family. When they pass away, they take away a lot of lived history. And I think more and more of our icons, our leaders in human and civil rights have passed away. And they take that lived history with them. With Reverend Jackson, that's 84 years of lived history. But here's what I'm proud of. A lot of what Reverend Jackson did for our race, our community, and for the country is well documented. If you want to tap into from my beginning of knowing who Jesse is, or Jesse was on Sesame Street. That clip has been floating around the internet as well. And I think it was done in 1972. I just got here. But Jesse, young, fired up, and he was ready to let people know that they are somebody. We'll get more into the importance of Reverend Jackson and celebrating Black History Month and remembering your loved ones, your ancestors who may no longer be here, but you got to track the history. We'll be right back.
Are you a small business owner looking to grow? Introducing the Key Spot mobile app. I'm Cynthia McAllister, owner of the IT company Quality SAP. Since 2016, we have been supporting small businesses and help them promote and share their businesses, services, and events across the country. KeySpot is more than just an app. We are a network providing community. KeySpot, connecting communities and supporting small businesses.
You know what? I had to circle back and do some research. I really wanted to make sure that I got this right because I'm talking about a historical icon who passed, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He meant so much to myself as well as millions of others. And as I mentioned early on that he started Operation Push in the same year I was born. And then it became Operation Rainbow Push. Now, I think about Jesse running for president in 1984 and 1988. Now, both times I was still too young to vote either times. But it was a big deal because he was running for president. I think before him, there was Shirley Chisholm, and she ran for president in the 1970s. But Jesse's run was historic. And just to make sure that I got it all right, I had to go to a journalist who now has his own platform. There's a lot of people that have their own platforms now. Joy Reid, Don Lemon, and Roland Martin. He represents the Black press so very well, and we talked about the Black press and its representation on Talk on Tuesdays earlier this week. And I wanted to make sure that I got this right. Now, when I was watching his show, he did, and I knew he was going to do a special just on Jesse Jackson being the historical icon that he is. And he literally just pulled a few people together, and just from sheer memory, a lot of it, I know he did research, but from sheer memory, he went over why the presidential run of Jackson in 84 and 88 was so very significant. Now, let me make sure I have this correct. So in 84, Jackson made a speech in San Francisco, and he spoke about a lot of issues that the Democratic candidates at the time in 84 weren't talking about. A couple of issues: poverty, struggling farmers in Iowa, the apartheid in South Africa. A lot of people didn't want to touch that subject. That was weird. LGBTQ rights, disability rights, economic justice. These were topics that the other candidates were not talking about at all. And just so that he could really speak to people that were economically disadvantaged. He stayed in public housing while he was on his presidential run, just to talk with people and kind of get that boots on the ground feel of things. And here's the thing. I believe Jackson mastered how to build coalitions, especially with his work with Dr. King. He learned that. Like, I feel like a lot of his learning happened when he was a student and literally was kind of the apprentice of Dr. King. So Roland Martin, he mentions this. He explains that after Jackson's 1984 speech there in San Francisco, there were so many unsettling parts of the Democratic establishment that started to come to light that it sparked the creation of the Democratic Leadership Council. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. And this became the wing that later shaped leaders who eventually became a president, Bill Clinton. So that was after him. And then the party just kind of recalibrated in response to what Jackson talked about in that speech in 84. Now, did he win? No. In 88, he ran again. And he finished second to the Democratic candidate who ended up winning the Democratic Party nomination, Mike Dukakis. I want to say his name right, Mike Dukakis. But here's the shift. Here's the structural shift that happened. And I'm so grateful that Roland Martin brought this out, because I was thinking, I have got to mention this part. Let me make sure I don't get it wrong. At the time, many of the primaries operated under this winner takes all. If you won a state like Illinois, California, a large state, whatever that is, with the delegates, you win the Democratic nomination. But after seeing the enthusiasm and broad support of Jackson, the Democratic Party changed the delegate allocation rules to a more appropriate system. And this matters. This matters big time, because without that small change from winner takes all to a more delegate allocated version of getting and winning the Democratic nomination, there is no President Barack Obama in 2008. Now, under the old rule, this is it's important. Under the old rule, winner takes all, Hillary Clinton's victories in certain large states would have gotten her the Democratic nomination in 2008. However, but proportional allocation allowed Obama to accumulate delegates and secure the nomination. Reverend Jackson made structural impact in the Democratic Party. When I saw this and heard this from Roland Martin and confirmed it by going to a couple of more sources, and other people mentioned this too in their remembrance of Reverend Jackson over the week, I said, aha, I want to make sure that I mention that. And the other thing that Roland Martin mentioned was that because of the historic run of Jackson, many people of color, black people, decided to run. And at one point there was the phrase "Run, Jesse, run," but then he empowered others for it to change, for it to run, people run, black people run. So you had black people running for mayors, for, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out right here. You had people running for mayors, for aldermen, for state representatives, state senators. He inspired a lot of people to just go for it, which is phenomenal. And here's the thing, Reverend Jesse Jackson wasn't just a candidate, he reshaped the system. He reshaped the system. And so if for nothing else, we have to and we should remember Reverend Jesse Jackson and all that he's done, especially politically in this country. Now I completely understand why Jesse was so overcome and overwhelmed with tears of joy when Barack Obama won. Other people were thinking, oh, maybe he was thinking, oh, it should have been me. But think about this. A lot of folks, especially that have had their boots on the ground in civil rights and human rights, a lot of times it's not for you. It's for the others that come behind you. So it can make their road easier. And Barack Obama became the 44th president of the United States. How exciting. I stopped counting after him, but I know that's where we are now. I'm sorry, that's where my head is right now. We'll be back.
Hey, I'm Coach Tony, and this is the Pull Up Podcast show. For every Monday, we break down the game quarter by quarter and give you information as well as break down the culture. Join us on the Pull Up Podcast.
Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Show. I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast.
Wonderful memory. Yesterday I was watching A Different World. You know, I'm very excited that they're about to do another reboot. In A Different World, there was an episode where Jesse Jackson appeared on and was encouraging Dwayne Wayne, played by Kadeem Hardison, about his campaign. His roommate, Ron, brilliantly played by Darryl Bell, put a poster together, and it said, you know, we are somebody. And it had Jesse's name. He had Jesse Jackson's face over it. He had Dwayne's face over it, and then he had his Ron's face. And he apologized to Jesse Jackson because Jesse Jackson was visiting the fictitious Hillman College, and he made a speech. And thanks to Debbie Allen, thanks to everybody that had anything to do with having Jesse Jackson come on the episode for A Different World. I forgot the name of the episode, but here's the thing. Second season, A Different World, just look for Jesse Jackson. If you have Netflix, just check it out. It's very powerful. And I love the camaraderie between Colonel Taylor and Jesse, as Jesse called him Beanie, like kind of establishing this was a long friendship. Oh man, I love it. Here we go. I wanted to make sure that I understood this. I mentioned that Jesse Jackson's from South Carolina, but where? He was born in Greenville, South Carolina, October 8th, 1941. On Wednesday, the day after his passing, his family did a full press release. They did a full press conference, and spoke about their memories of their father and that the funeral arrangements was coming and that they were encouraging people, especially here in Chicago, if Jesse had meant anything to you personally, please come out and attend. So my mind is, I want to attend. I want to represent my mom, who turned on the radio to WJPC every Saturday so she could hear what's happening with Operation Push. And now Operation Rainbow Push, because that's now the new name for it. They're a non-for-profit that's still doing great things for people, period. And for Jesse, as late as last month in January, to protest the killing of Alex Reddy and Renee Good to ICE agents, not to protest in an angry way, but to speak up, because these were two humans who got killed wrongfully. So I really want to continue to celebrate Jesse, and we will continue to do so right after this.
It's your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So make sure on March 28th you pull up on me. Why? Because I'm partnering with who? The Big Baller brand. And The Rise will be presenting the National All-Star Game here in Nashville, Tennessee, 2 o'clock p.m. We're going to have the middle school game, 4 p.m. the high school girls, followed by 6 p.m. the boys All-Star Game. Don't meet me there, but beat me there.
Welcome back. Wow. President Obama, who was Senator Obama back in 2007, 2008, that historic run of Barack Obama and then him eventually winning. As I said earlier, all due to Jesse. Very memorable video of in Chicago when Michelle, their children, and Barack, they walked across the stage and accepted and gave their acceptance speech, their victory speech in Chicago. And the camera panned to Jesse Jackson, who was visibly crying and very, very emotional. 2 times Jesse Jackson ran for president. But, there were other people that ran for president too. I just know that for Jesse Jackson, he created that lane to where the possibility of having the first African American president was there. And it's all about blazing trails. I know that Dr. King blazed a trail for Jesse and for many other civil rights leaders. But definitely Jesse thought about that and said, you know what? There is this Southern Christian Leadership Conference here. I'm going to start my own. And he did it in Chicago. So, my mom's brother, Maxie D. Hill, I knew him affectionately as Uncle Maxie. He passed away in 96. But while my Uncle Maxie was here, he worked he was a union president, I think for Hostess, Dolly Madison, the workers that produced your favorite sweet treats. The cupcakes, the ho-hos, all of that. Those things were produced in a factory, and my uncle represented the factory workers and was always meeting with political leaders, always. First time I met Jesse Jackson was through my Uncle Maxie. And I remember him saying, "This is my niece." And Jesse was really friendly and smiled, shook my hand. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But this gentleman I've been listening to when I was a little kid saying that I am somebody. Wow. But the main thing about my uncle, he was always fighting for the rights for the workers, the union workers at the plants that were here in Chicago. Those plants aren't here anymore. But that was an era of time. And my uncle also introduced me to this weird name person, Barack. I couldn't quite pronounce his name, had no clue who he was or who he was going to become. Second time I met Jesse Jackson was in New York. my cousin Kendall, and yeah, he was there and was responsible for playing music for the leaders that were getting up and speaking. And he introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I remember taking pictures, and I recalled the time when I heard Jesse Jackson on the radio when I was a shorty. And he laughed and chuckled, but he really complimented my cousin Kendall, because my cousin does the music for this podcast, but he's a very talented musician who travels with a lot of leaders. And it was interesting. His share on Instagram was really powerful. And he wrote a song too. But folks in my family, they just talented. And it was really good that Kendall shared about the impact that Jesse made on his life. There's a lot of people that's doing that. There's a lot of people that's sharing pictures with themselves and Jesse. Because think about it. Jesse Jackson was our living Black history for years. And no matter if you didn't like his politics or got upset with how he did things, he really blazed a trail for Barack Obama. He placed in the idea, definitely for young folks, you could start your own organization. Boots on the ground organization is always important. And as you know, I never like talking about politics on any of my platforms, but the theme of this podcast is Black history. So I wanted to share just a little Black history, not only with my life and how it intersected with Jesse Jackson and how and what he did influence my life, but I definitely wanted to talk about the man who did so many great things, not only just for Blacks and for the civil rights movement, but human rights. And he's going to be sorely missed. I know I'm going to miss him. And I know his family's going to miss him, because think about it. Vast majority, there's other folks that are from his family that are in Congress. They are working. They are working for their constituents. And here's my reminder to anyone that runs for political office, or you're currently in political office and you're listening to this. Just keep in mind, please be in service to the people that you serve. To make a phone call last month to audibly say, I have an issue with what's happening in another state, in another city, and I don't like that it happened here in Chicago, was very disturbing. However, if your senator, your representative, your alderman, your mayor, whomever that public office is, if they serve, they've got to serve the people that they are over, that they're responsible for, that district, that city, that state. So, in closing, I want to encourage you guys, if you have memories of your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, someone that has passed on, and you have a picture, a memory, share it. If you remember ever meeting or intersecting with Jesse Jackson, share it online. A lot of folks are already doing so. And I got to find the photo that I took of him when he was in New York in 2008. I got to find that photo. It's somewhere. It's somewhere around here digitally. I don't think I had it printed, but yeah. But it was a real honor. And I have to say, thank you, Jesse, Reverend Jackson, what you did, what you've done for our race. Thank you so very much for giving us the affirmations that we are somebody. I'm going to forever take that to my memory. And remembering Jesse always gives me wonderful, fond memories of my mom. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that special? I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and this is the Interludes Podcast on Spotify. The Interludes Podcast.
Original concept by Valerie Johnson.
Sports segments for Talk on Tuesdays, produced by Coach Tony Thompson.
Original intro and outro music produced by Kendall Nesbitt.
The Interludes Podcast, a pure Lighthouse production. This episode is brought to you by our brand new website, purelighthouse.media.com, the official home of A DJ Saved My Life, where the ABCs of podcasting meet personal transformation. And now available in print. Order your signed copy today and discover how finding your voice can change your life. Are you a business or entrepreneur looking to promote your work through a dynamic podcasting platform? Partner with us through sponsorship and marketing opportunities. Your message belongs in front of our audience. Got that $1 million podcast idea, but don't know where to start? Whether you need a coach, a guide, or a full-on producer, I'm here to walk you through the process and bring your podcast vision to life. Visit purelighthouse.media.com today to get your book, book your consultation, or connect with us about sponsorship. Let's grow together.